What's up everybody and welcome back to our channel. My name is Sydney and you're on the Connor and Sydney channel. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe to our channel and follow along with our pregnancy journey and help us reach 1,000 subscribers before April. Anyway, today's video is on testing the old wives' tales for predicting gender of your baby, and as most of you already know and saw in our last video, we already actually know the gender of our baby, so we're no longer predicting. Instead, we're like testing them to see which ones are true and which ones aren't. And as most of you probably know, we are having a girl. So before we knew what we were having, I was like looking at these old wives' tales just to see if maybe we could predict what gender our baby was gonna be. But we knew that ultimately they don't mean anything. And let me just point out that I think we could have every single old wives' tale for the boys and none of them for the girls. And I still think that God is in charge and can decide exactly what gender our baby is, regardless of any of these old wives' tales. So I'm not saying that any of these hold any weight, but it is fun to look at and try and figure it out before you actually get told by your doctors. And I read an article at one point that said the only reason these old wives' tales came into play were because back in the day, obviously they didn't have ultrasounds, so they used to try and come up with things and patterns that they could see, even though they're not always true and they're not always associated with the correct gender. It was just something they did because they had no other way to predict what baby they were going to be having. So we're going to go through and see like how many points I get for girl, how many points I get for boy, and see kind of which ones were right, which ones were wrong. So the first one we're going to cover is cravings. They say if your cravings are sweets, you're having a girl. If your cravings are like savory, you're having a boy. So my cravings, I hadn't had cravings for a long time because I just had so many food aversions, but now at this point, I would say that most of my cravings are like cookie dough, sweet tarts, a purple bag of Skittles, and pretty much cookie dough bites candy, actual cookie dough, and lemonade is the one drink that I always want. So I would say that most of those are sweet cravings. Even though my cravings aren't like super intense or anything, those are the things that I like, that when they come to my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds awesome right now. But I mean, I do the same thing with like spaghetti and pastas and stuff right now. So I mean, you could kind of go either way. You could kind of make it fit either way, but the majority of the things that I'm like, ooh, that sounds awesome, are like candies and desserts and stuff like that. So I would say we get 1 point for a girl. So for us, that one was right. The next like common one that people say is morning sickness. They say if you get morning sickness, you're having a girl, and if you don't, you're having a boy. So I would give myself a point for a girl on that one because I would definitely say I had morning sickness, I had afternoon sickness, I had evening sickness. My first trimester, I was very nauseous pretty much throughout the entire day. So I would give myself a point for a girl on that one, and I would say that that one for me was pretty much correct. We did just talk about food aversions a little bit along the cravings line, and they say that if you're like revolted by formerly favorite foods, which I kind of was, like foods that I had always eaten, like I had a protein bar for breakfast every single morning, I wanted nothing to do with that. I was eating like grilled chicken like for most of my dinners, and I wanted nothing to do with chicken, nothing to do with bacon. I always liked bacon, like wasn't my favorite food, but I liked it. And bacon, the smell of bacon could make me puke, and like if I thought about it, it could make me puke. So I would say that I was definitely revolted by foods, and they say if you are, you're having a boy, and if you aren't, you're having a girl. So I'd give myself a point for a boy on that one. And I'd say that for me, that old wives' tale was very false. All right, so the next one is acne. That was actually one of the first symptoms that I had, that I knew something was going on with my hormones, and kind of the reason I even took a test, even though I didn't think I was pregnant. But my acne was so out of control. But I've had acne my entire life, so it's hard to say if this one's actually true or not, but my acne really went berserko during my pregnancy, and I still have it completely covering my back and my shoulders and my neck. And they say if you have acne, you're having a girl, and if you don't, you're having a boy. So I'd give myself a point for girl on that one and say that that was definitely correct for me. But I would tend to say that that's not necessarily true, because if you look it up and Google it, they say if you struggled with acne before getting pregnant, then it's probably only going to be enhanced during your pregnancy. So I think regardless, girl or boy, I was probably going to have crazy acne during my pregnancy because of my hormonal changes anyway, like that was no surprise to me. They also say if you have dreams about what your baby is going to be, I like totally wouldn't have expected this, but you usually end up having the opposite of whatever you were dreaming. And in my dreams, I kept having dreams that we were having a boy and we're having a girl. So that one actually was correct. So if you're pregnant, take into consideration that you could be having the opposite of what you've dreamt about. But I'm also not really surprised about that because we were like kind of hoping for a girl, even though we wouldn't have cared either way. I was like kind of hoping for a girl. And so I think my mind and my dreams kept telling me like, oh, you're having a boy. And then in my dream, I was like disappointed, even though I knew in real life I wasn't going to be disappointed. I think like things are just enhanced in your dreams. So like if you have fears or worries or nerves, like a lot of times they come out in your dreams and they're enhanced. So I wouldn't necessarily say that that's going to be true, but for me, it actually was. They also say if you have that pregnancy glow that everybody talks about, you're having a boy. And if you don't have that glow, you're having a girl. And as I've already said, my acne went crazy when I found out I was pregnant. So when I first saw that old wives' tale, I was like, okay, if that one happens to be true at all, I'm definitely having a girl, because I was like embarrassed to go out in public. I was like covered in acne. I felt disgusting about myself. I was so sick. And so like all those things together did not make me feel glowing and beautiful. And I had just cut my hair after I'd had long black hair my whole life. So like I was still adjusting to like me looking different with lighter hair and shorter hair. And I have not felt great looking during my whole pregnancy, but like it's hard when none of your clothes fit and you literally can't find anything in your closet to wear, and I haven't liked my hair, and it's just a combination of things. So I've not felt glowing and beautiful during my pregnancy, and that's okay because that's not what's important right now. The important thing is that I'm growing a healthy baby. So I'd give myself a point for girl on that one. They also say to look at your mood. Are you happy and mellow, or are you moody? So they say if you're happy and mellow, you're having a boy, and if you're moody, you're having a girl. And I would say that this one is definitely a point for girl. That was one of the first symptoms I had as well, is I started noticing that I was really irritable. Like the tiniest things were irritating me and setting me off, when I knew in the moment, I even knew these things shouldn't be making me this aggravated. Like what is going on with me? Like, and then somebody would say something and I'd be like having to take deep breaths because I was about to start crying, and like I've cried a lot. I've been very emotional. So I'd say my moods are kind of like all over the place right now. So that's definitely, that one for me was true. That's a girl. This one, I think there's no way that it could be true, but they say if your urine color is bright yellow, you're having a boy, and if it's dull in color, you're having a girl. And I would definitely give myself a point for a boy on this one, and I think it has absolutely nothing to do with the gender, but I think it has everything to do with the fact that during pregnancy, like when you have food aversions, water to me even has sounded disgusting. So staying hydrated has been really hard, and room temperature water like really grosses me out. So it has to be like really cold for me to be drinking it. So it's just been hard for me to stay hydrated. So that's a point for boy, and that one was wrong for me. They also say if you're carrying low, you're having a boy, and if you're carrying high, you're having a girl. I don't really know what you would say I'm carrying. I asked someone at work today and they said it looked more like low. So I like Googled it when I got home on what it looks like to be carrying high and carrying low. And even though I'm not I don't have a big belly yet, I would say that what I have looks more like the carrying low. So that would be a point for boy, and that one was not correct for me. And I feel like that tends to be what people go off of the most. So I would say like don't take that one into consideration too much when everybody's like, oh, you're having a boy because of blah blah blah. Like no, probably not. Another one is if your face is getting rounder. And I don't know if it necessarily has gotten rounder, but when I gain weight, my face tends to get more round, and when I lose weight, my chin gets more defined. So I would say that it has gotten rounder, and they associate that with a rounder face being a girl. So I would give myself a point for a girl on that one. But also, I would say that that's probably because I'm eating so much, and so when I put on a little bit of weight, that just tends to happen. At the same time, it's like, not noticeable enough that if I were having a boy, I could maybe like convince myself like, oh yeah, my face shape hasn't really changed at all. I don't know. You can convince yourself either way on almost every single one of them. So this one I don't believe at all, but this one is like based on the Mayan calendar. They say if the year you got pregnant, and so that was 2021, and your age, which was 25 at the time. So 25 and 21, you look at those two numbers, and if they're both odd or both even, you're having a girl. And if they're different, you're having a boy. And mine are both odd numbers, so that would give me a point for a girl. I think there is no truth behind that one at all whatsoever, but it did happen to be girl for me. If your body temperature is changing and your body temperature seems to be getting colder, it means you're having a boy, and if it's getting warmer, it means you're having a girl. I would say that I tend to be cold most of the time, so I'd give myself a point for boy on that one. I haven't noticed any change in my body temperature, but if I had to choose one, I'd choose boy because I am always cold, and even while I'm pregnant, I'm still always cold. If you're having frequent headaches, they say you're having a boy, and if you're not, they say you're having a girl. So for that one, I've gotten frequent headaches my whole life. I've always gotten migraines, and in the first trimester, I had like 3 1 week. And after that, I haven't had a single one since. I mean, every day my head hurts a little bit, but I mean, not bad. It's just like a little bit of pressure right here, but not like frequent migraines, which I struggled with those for much of my life, and God's brought me a lot of healing in that. So for me, as like a previously headache person, to not have like migraines throughout my whole pregnancy, I would just go with no and say that that puts me on the girl side, because I'm not like bedridden over my headaches, and before I was pregnant, oftentimes I would be. So I'd give myself a point for girl on that one. They say that couples that live together are more likely to have boys, and we obviously live together and we're having a girl. So I would say that that one for us is completely false. We get a point for boy on that one. All right, we could keep going and going all day with all of these, but here is a bunch to at least get you started and see how true these were for me and if these can actually predict your baby's gender. So for me, I would say that none of them individually are enough information for me to say, oh, you're probably having blah, 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 because I feel like literally every pregnancy is different. I feel like for my next pregnancy, I could have a girl again and have an entirely different experience. So I wouldn't say that these predict anything, but if you have if almost every single one of these says you're having a boy, or if almost every single one says you're having a girl, then maybe there's a decent chance that it actually means something, because just add it all up together, maybe it amounts to something in the end. Like, as you've seen, I've had a lot of points that I could put with girl, but most of the time I think people trick their minds into thinking like, oh, I want a boy, so I'm gonna try and convince myself that all of these signs say that I'm having a boy. So many of them could go either way, like, oh yeah, I had morning sickness for a couple days but not for long. Like, then you'll put it with whichever category you want more. So I wouldn't take any of these too seriously. They are kind of fun to look into though, and when everybody said I was having a boy, I looked into some of these old wives' tales, and a lot of them did come out saying that I was gonna have a girl. So there could be some truth behind a couple of them, but there are a lot of old wives' tales that I won't even like touch or do anything with, just because I think they're so silly. Like, there's one that you like hang a ring from a necklace and you like swing it over your belly, and if it goes in circles or swings back and forth, it means you're either having a boy or a girl. I don't even remember how it is, but to me it's like, obviously there is no truth behind that. That's completely ridiculous. There's a Chinese gender chart too, where you like look at one piece of information, another piece of information, and meet them in the middle. I don't even remember how that one works either, but I don't believe that one at all. The Mayan calendar thing, a lot of these are all just very silly. Just something people used to do before they had the luxury of getting an ultrasound or a blood test done. So that was my experience looking at old wives' tales, and it was fun to look at them before I knew what I was having, and it's fun to look at them after and see how many of them actually had any truth behind them. So let me know if any of you girl moms out there have experienced these same symptoms as me, or if any of you boy moms out there experience the same symptoms as me. It's just really funny to look and compare and have boy moms having the same symptoms as me, and it's just, every pregnancy is different and unique. And yeah, that's really all I have for you. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before like April, and so that means I need to be making a lot more videos than what I currently make. But it also just means a lot to me when you guys do share my videos and you comment on the videos, and it gets YouTube to pick them up and share them with more people. So thank you to those of you out there who have helped us get closer and closer to our goal. We love you guys. Thank you for being here with us on our journey. And just remember that what God thinks about you is way more important than what the world thinks about you. We love you guys. We'll see you soon.